Welcome back to Mindset Mastery Moments, where we disrupt limitations and we ignite your brilliance, elevate your mindset so you can live your life, career, and your calling. Of course, I'm Dr. Alisa, your number one mindset disruptor. And today we are diving into something that is truly transformational. And I waited months to have this guest. Let me ask you something, though, disruptors. Have you ever felt deep inside that your life was meant for something more? That the vision in your life, in your heart, was not random, but it's definitely something that was assigned to you, that if you don't get it out, just feels so uncomfortable, unfulfilled. Well, today we're exploring how to decode that vision, claim it boldly, and actually make it real. Our guest today is a man whose voice blends science, soul, strategy with such grace and grounded also in wisdom. He's been compared to a young Bob Proctor. And you guys know on this podcast, we love Bob Proctor. And you'll hear why. In just a moment, I'll share with you a guest that I personally waited about 8 months to have on the show. Kevin Carton is a transformational life coach, speaker, teacher, and the co-host of the Science and Spirituality podcast that is also at Top 1%. And y'all know what happens when we have Top 1% podcast host on this podcast, on this Top 1% podcast. It is nothing but fireworks. His podcast has had over 1.3 million downloads and listeners in over 113 countries. Kevin is here to help us unlock the code to discovering and living our soul's purpose. And believe me, this is more than just a conversation. This is an activation. So buckle up. This moment might just be the change that you've been looking for. Kevin, welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much. And I can echo the same kind of energy. I've been waiting to be here as well. So thank you.
Well, I got to tell you all a little bit more about Kevin. He probably thought I was done, but he knows I have to give you all the goods. Kevin Carton has guided hundreds of individuals through the inner work of rewiring their subconscious mind and stepping into bold purpose. He's also certified by the Brave Thinking Institute, an institution that I love, and has a gift for translating spirituality. And I'll tell you, I listen to his podcast too, okay? Spiritual principles, he transfers them into real, repeatable change. You know, it's all about those moments and those habits that make everything different in our life. From teaching yoga to building content for an 8-figure coaching company to launching his own purpose-driven vision, Kevin walks and he talks the same thing. He's in alignment with his vision and his soul's mission. Well, Kevin, again, we're so happy to have you, and we're ready for you to help us unlock our soul's purpose. Let's start by you telling us in your own words who you are, what you do, and exactly why you do it.
I'd be happy to. And thank you for the great intro. I'm just honored with the energy you brought. I really appreciate it. And so
that's how we do it.
I love it. It's amazing. So as you said, I'm a transformational life coach certified by the Brave Thinking Institute. I've been studying with their founder, Mary Morrissey, for 11 years. And I know I look young, but that 11 years is about a third of my life now that I've spent in investing in personal development, spiritual principles, studying this kind of material. And I really can honestly say that your word that you just shared there about being in alignment with my soul's mission, I really have been feeling that for several years now. It wasn't always the case. Yeah. And we can definitely dive into that of I think it's a very common thing to experience, feeling lost, not being sure what your purpose is. But then once you find it, deepen into it, take steps toward it, it just becomes a way of living, right? So that really is, I'd say, who I am. I mean, what I do in the world is I do coach clients and helping them rewire their subconscious minds, like you said. But I love to focus in on helping people discover and live their soul's purpose. Because I really believe that each and every one of us have a unique purpose, just as unique as our thumbprint, which we know physiologically as a human in biology that every single thumbprint is completely different. There's not one thumbprint that has been the same in the entire human history. Yeah. And so I believe we also each have a unique soul's purpose of why we're here, why we came to planet Earth at this time in human history. And I find that is my purpose in helping people discover that and then live that.
Absolutely amazing. And that's exactly why I want to start where I know your heart begins, and that's with vision.
Mm.
You said before you've been given your vision by life itself. Let's
Yes.
unpack that. What does that mean to
Happy to.
trust your vision as sacred? And how do people even start reclaiming that?
It is a big question, right? It can seem like, well, where do you start it?
People
How
love to
can
get
you even
overwhelmed.
start?
Yes.
Yeah, but it really is very, very simple. If we boil it down to what is life itself, like just talking about life in general.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at life from even a scientific viewpoint, as you know, I love going there as well. Life is always for expansion, evolution, greater expression.
Mm-hmm.
That has been from the dawn of time. The scientific viewpoint, again, from the Big Bang, is the most widely accepted theory. That's what started the creation pattern of the universe, right?
Yes.
Ever since then, it's been continuous evolution to a more higher order experience. You know, in the very beginning, it was just like literally the only atom in the beginning of the universe was hydrogen.
Yes.
And there's like the simplest atom in our periodic table. As
Mm-hmm.
those hydrogen atoms came together, they formed other molecules and so on and so forth that became, or other atoms, you could say. And then so on and so forth. It kept continuing on until we became alive
Right.
and somehow came to be here. But anyway, the whole point of life itself is, again, for greater expansion, greater expression, more full life, in essence.
Yes.
Like even like if you just take a simple example of that, I know I just went like super far, like zoomed out. But if
No.
you just zoom in an example of like plant life, a tree growing, right? In one day of time, the purpose of that tree is to grow to its next expression. And if you look at here, I live in Colorado, there's a lot of evergreen trees. And so pine needles, like right at the edge of the growth of that evergreen tree, even though it's technically always green throughout the seasons.
Yes.
In the spring, there's it's new growth and there's a bright green edge just at the edge of the previous needle, right?
Yes.
So there's just that pressing into moreness in life. So when you ask the question, well, your vision, how do you say it came from life itself?
Yes.
I find it's what calls us the most, or what we feel as a longing for more. Now, there's much more I can unpack about that, but really it is as simple as that. And that really does cover basically anything we can even think of in life, for our life, of what is my vision or what would I love. It's what am I longing for? What do I feel called to?
Yes.
And starting to just get curious about that is part of that process, but there's other parts of it that is some challenge, right? Because sometimes our longings or what we really feel called to may get stifled, or we might have our own internal doubts about, is it even possible? Like so many different thoughts that we can be stopped by, or even external challenges or obstacles that might hinder our connection even
Yes.
with knowing what we would love. But it is really as simple as that, because again, that's life itself. It's not
Yes.
even our own personal unique desire, although it is obviously what we experience uniquely through our human experience,
Yes.
but it's life itself wanting more. And that's what we feel within. So that's honestly how we start. It's just by asking the question, well, what am I longing for? Or the opposite, what am I discontent about? Like, what are the things in my life that are, feeling really constrictive, I'm not liking in my life, I really want to change, in essence. So discontent or longing are great starts to just getting curious and wondering, again, then what is my vision for life, or what is life's vision for me?
Oh, I love that. I love how you flipped it. It's not only what is my vision for life, is what is life vision for me. So profound. Never thought about it that way. And I guess it's very similar to what I talk about in having that purpose grounded mindset, that you can help discover your purpose. One of the ways is sometimes it's through the push of pain, or just the pull of possibilities.
Yes.
And so the pull of possibilities and the push of pain seems like there are circumstances outside of you, right? So with that being said, I think that's that flip side that you just brought us. I love that. So many people are constantly overwhelmed with how they don't even let themselves say what they truly want. How do you coach someone into boldly claiming what they desire, even if it scares them?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one of the, well, not only I think, but one of the ways I support my clients in doing so is recognizing that that's part of the process, and it's okay
Yes.
to have some of that fear, that doubt, the worry, or like you said, life circumstance, like it's pressing on you, that it seems like there's a lot of overwhelm or difficulty, even getting clear on what you would love.
Yes.
I recommend not trying to push that away, because you actually even just mentioned it brilliantly, the words you just shared, that using your pain as motivation, right? So like using that pain, not trying to get rid of it. So instead of like thinking of it as this force or feeling that shouldn't be in our human experience, part of the process is actually accepting that that's normal.
Yes.
And then having the willingness to start dreaming and connecting with what could be beyond this anyway.
Exactly.
There's actually a beautiful quote from my mentor, who I mentioned before, but as you know, Mary Morrissey.
Yes.
She has this beautiful quote where she says, "Successful people are willing to be uncomfortable in the interest of their growth." So
Bring
that's
it.
in essence part of it.
Bring it.
Totally. Like, so it's another way of saying it too, at least in my words. I would say, just to add to that, the opposite side of it.
Yes.
Don't look for being comfortable.
Yes.
So that discomfort's actually a gift. It's not something that is a burden.
Yes. I made a quote about maybe 7-8 years ago. Get comfortable being a misfit. A misfit is a great fit for greatness.
Ooh, I like that ending. Totally. In fact, I feel like most, if not all, people who've become great are misfits.
Complete misfits.
Yes.
Yes. One thing that I so deeply admire about your work, Kevin, is how you bridge spiritual insight with real scientific strategies. And, I get all into your podcast with your brother, Chris. Talk to us about the subconscious mind. What are the most powerful mindset shifts people need to make to start rewiring limiting beliefs?
Simple. Super simple is repetition. The subconscious mind is impressed through repetition and emotional impact.
Whoa, love it.
So the simple mindset shift to start working with rewiring the subconscious is knowing it's a long game. It's not going to be a snap of a finger shift. It's going to take some time, and the repetition, which goes back to our previous point, that you have to be willing to be uncomfortable in the interest of growth. And part of that discomfort is going to be going back to the same new belief, the same vision that you've held in your mind for weeks, if not months.
Yes.
Right? And coming back to it with renewed purpose for it to become more real in your life.
Yeah.
That's like that commitment level. It's a signal not only to your subconscious mind that you're serious about the change you're wanting to make, but also I believe it's a signal to the infinite. It's a signal to spirit, source, life itself, God, which I believe is an all unified field of energy.
Yes.
One with all things. It's literally one, the one. Yes. And so in order to convey not only to yourself, but to this higher power that, again, you can give any label or name you want to it, but that in essence helps in creating that shift in the subconscious level.
Oh, I love it. Again, it's in the simple step-by-step habits. I started this podcast, Mindset Mastery Moments. I was doing solo for a long time because that's all I intended to do was come on here, get my point across, and I have to do video reels on Instagram and TikTok. And so I talk a lot about habits, first 10, 12 episodes, because everyone wants to know, how do you disrupt the limiting belief? How do you change your, go from being almost 230 pounds to 123 pounds and maintaining it and all that stuff. And I'm like, look, it's simple, but it's the simple things that we avoid doing that we don't get the results we want. I mean, you didn't get these little bit of biceps that I have going on. It took a year and a half to really start to see it. And my sister is like, man, you're looking cut. I'm like, that was the goal. But if I had stopped at 6 months, you wouldn't see those muscles. You wouldn't see the muscle tone because it would still be, covered with fat, but you wouldn't see the definition as well because I trained it daily, and I don't train a whole lot. I'm not lifting crazy weights. I mean, I'm up to now lifting 40 pounds on each side, doing my reps, but I started off with 5 and 10 and 15. And I literally have weights at home, so I don't have to go to the gym and deal with everybody and wait around. But I rewarded myself when it was just not challenging anymore. I challenged to the next 10 pounds and the next 10 pounds. And so it's always in those little habits. But here's another thing that I love that you talk about, Kevin. You speak a lot about vibration, frequency, attraction. mindset. How does neuroscience meet spirituality in your coaching process? And I mean, I'm just geeked out because
Totally.
I've already listened to you talk. I know your work. That's the fun part. I get to meet you all, and I get to learn a lot before you come on the show. But the world needs to hear it. So tell us.
Right. Totally. So I always love to bring up the topic of neuroplasticity, which is still, in a way, relatively new. It is quite popular and I think is a very normal thing in understanding in personal development circles. However, if we're looking at the whole species of our humanity and human family, you could say, not a lot of people know about this yet. And it's still relatively new knowledge that our brain's neurons can literally rewire themselves physically when we think differently.
Yes, that is.
And the summarized phrase that neuroscientists use is that what gets fired together gets wired together. Yeah. And then I'd be happy to share even deeper of like the specific neuroscience of what happens. However, we don't even technically need it. Just knowing that, again, your brain can literally rewire itself.
Yes.
And if you also remember and think or just notice that whatever thoughts you have in a given day naturally cause the emotions you experience over time. It's the major dominant thinking patterns we have in our life that create the emotions we experience. And our emotions are what create the actions we take.
Yes.
So there's a natural flow of creation that happens. And there's some feedback, of course, if like you're feeling low, then naturally you're going to start thinking thoughts that are in a low state. But it is really mainly a flow beginning in our thoughts, then our emotions, then actions. And naturally our actions create our results, but also get to attract to us different opportunities, different people to talk to, different ideas that we can then act on to then bring about the fruition of what we would love. But it really all begins in the changing of our mindset or the literal thinking differently, which seems again on the surface as trivial in a way of, just changing one little thought each day of like changing that doubt thought and not entertaining it anymore and reminding myself that I am powerful and I can create whatever I would love. Like those kinds of thoughts, it seems again so simple, talking about what you shared before, simple things, but repeated over time, it literally creates a different wiring in the brain, which then when you have a different wired brain, then naturally, again, the emotions change, your actions change, your results change. And if I may, I want to give one tangible example of this.
Got to do it.
Neuroscience, an example of a scientific study that proved this. There was a study that was done with two different groups of people that were just learning how to play the piano. So they were all beginners, basically, and they were given a certain number of chords to practice for 2 hours a day. It's a decent amount of practice. However, the first group, and it was only a 5-day study, it was pretty short, but the first 5 days, 2 hours a day of practice, the group A, we could say, was actually physically playing the piano. And at the end of each day, they took brain scans and actually saw the parts of their brain that lit up when they were playing those particular parts of the piano. So there was specific neural networks connected to their finger muscles. And so when they took the brain scans, naturally over the 5 days, that part of the brain started to grow in capacity. Naturally, because again, you're physically practicing. So there's going to be some neural network firing and wiring together to make it stronger and stronger to grow in that skill. The most interesting thing though, the other group, let's say group B, they only visualized, they only saw it in their mind that they were imagining that they were playing the chords, hearing the music coming out of the piano and physically touching the keys, but they never actually physically touched a key. They were only imagining it for, again, a decent amount of time, but 2 hours a day. At the end of those 5 days, side by side, the brain scans looked almost identical.
I try to tell people your brain doesn't know the difference.
That's exactly it. So the reason I share that is because, again, what I was saying before about the simple shift in thinking. Think of it this way, too. Every single thought that we have elicits an image in our mind, whether we realize it or not. If I say to you door or car or sink, you don't see the letters DOORCARSINK. You see your door that you go in most often, or a car that you go in most often, or your sink, whatever it is. It's an image. So as we think differently, those images will pop in our mind. In essence, we're visualizing whether we realize it or not. And so thinking differently, as simple as it is powerful, and it literally changes the structure of your brain, which then again flows out into your life.
I love that you talked about that and brought up visualization. That's why you broke it down so eloquently. You brought us to science. This is why they call you a version of your own version of Bob Proctor, because that's the thing about the mindset. In my workforce classes where I am training individuals to get ready for the workforce or make a transition in the workforce, I do visualization and I teach it. Only because a lot of times people end up with these mental blocks about what they've experienced in past career or the job they just lost, and they have the fear and all these limitations set up. And so once I can it's amazing because when I say, okay, I'm turning the lights off and we're going to visualize, and they're like, what, are you going to hypnotize us? I'm like, no, I don't practice, even though I'm trained and certified. I don't practice hypnotherapy on anyone right now. I just do it on myself when I need to. But we're going to do a visualization. And they're like, okay. I'm like, so we're in a class of like 40 people in the hall. And I'm like, you don't have to do this, but you have to be quiet. You have to stay still so that the people who want to do it can go through this exercise. And so I just walk them through getting up out of bed and, taking care of their hygiene and getting dressed. And they're just following me. They don't know where I'm going to take them. And I take them to the first day of their job. What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? Who do you see? What do you see? What were you expecting at the end of the week as your pay? All the different things. You would be surprised when I turn the light off. People are smiling, happy, excited, fired up about their new job. And they're like, what did you do to us? I'm like, that's awesome. Is called visualization. Because here's the thing. If you can see yourself over and over again doing the thing, you've already done it. Your brain does not know the difference. You have begun a new habit of seeing and believing and creating. Now you will pull yourself forward. You will do actions to get to what you just saw. But you can interrupt it. You can interrupt it anytime you want and not follow with it. But if you want to, go back and visualize it, add more details, change things, put them in just the way you want, because maybe you just saw what you think you can do. But what if you could do more? You can just let's do it. Just visualize it. So that's introducing them to, starting to see things the way they want it and creating that imprint in the brain, in the mind, like say in the mind's eye to what they do. I heard you say something that goes against the grain a lot while we're talking about this, right? The grain of what's popular culture. You talk about moderation being one of the most effective ways to create lasting change. Well, let's disrupt mindsets here. Why is moderation more powerful than going to the extreme? And I'm going to love this answer too.
I'm happy to share. And I'll start with a simple example. I go to nature for much of a scientific viewpoint, as I shared before with like the growing tree, but also in a spiritual sense of what I believe life itself, God, source, spirit, again, the creator, created this world and the laws in alignment with. So think of a flower. If a flower blooms too early, it gets crushed by the cold in the late winter. It's not its time. If it rushes, if it tries too hard. But there is a growing season for everything, including that flower. And if we're in the right timing, if there's right moderation or pacing that is right in alignment with nature itself or how the universe evolves and grows, then we see absolute beauty. Like, you see a field of wildflowers, it's just awe-inspiring for most, maybe not for some, but I find that inspiring. But a beauty of a flower, right? That it's a slow unfolding. In fact, there's actually only one flower I'm aware of in the entire world that blooms. It actually only blooms once a year, but it does bloom in one day. So it's quite quick, but it's very, very, very rare. The majority of the time, so that's like an exception to the rule, but the majority of the time, a plant like that, a flower, it unfolds over time. It's not immediate. It's not this rushed process. So I find that with moderation, it's a quicker, I'm putting in air quotes because it's not technically the quickness that we're thinking of, that it's okay going to be less time. I promise you it'll be less effort when you have it in moderation of having some good time in working toward your vision, your goal, but then also some space and time where you actually relax, be at ease. And in
Yes.
fact, that way, you actually start to receive more ideas, more inspiration, more insight, more rejuvenated energy to then when you decide to go back to working on your goals and going forward, then boom, you have even more energy, even more motivation. So
That speaks. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
just to end that out, but thank you. It was just more of just aligning with, again, the laws of the universe. And the law that I'm speaking to here is called the law of rhythm. That there is an ebb and flow to literally everything in life. We were talking about the seasons, right? There's always 4 seasons. I mean, I guess technically in different parts of the world, there's not, but based on where you're at, like people around the equator, it's basically summer all around, right? But generally, it is the 4 seasons that naturally flow through. And that's beautiful. It's meant to be. And so in the same way that we have a rhythm to follow, like actually biologically, we have our circadian rhythm, right? Like naturally we have melatonin that started to create more toward the nighttime. We fall asleep. We have some time to rest. Our body actually needs it.
Yes.
And whether you get 5 hours of sleep or 10 hours of sleep or anywhere in between or anywhere less, whatever works for your body, you still need rest.
Yes.
And then you're back to the day. So there's a natural rhythm in everything. And so I find when you actually align your own workflow or your goals or your vision with a rhythm, a regular rhythm in some way that works for you, then it's just, it's much more fun or easy. It's much more graceful.
I would love to say find your rhythm. And that's the thing. I find that when you're not practicing what you just described, well, let's be real. When I am not practicing, I didn't know, I was not consciously aware that, but you get out of that rhythm for some reason. Maybe as we say in the world, you just go harder, like I'm going harder on my goals. And you're not, I don't call it, I don't call it balanced. I call it harmony. You're not in harmony.
Yes.
And again, that's that rhythm, right?
Yeah.
You're not in harmony. And that's where you just, people say, oh, you have to slow down, you have to rest. Those are really great words, but it's sometimes you can be like, okay, I'm not going to do anything for 2 weeks, but then you get back up and you do the same thing again. And you're like, why isn't this working? I just rested. I shouldn't be tired. I shouldn't be stressed. But you're not in a rhythm that's in harmony with who you are and why you are. So I believe that's what throws it off. And I know that I have a tendency to have that happen so many times. I'm like, okay, what is out of sync? What is out of sync for me? And that's, when they say go to the beat of your own, she goes to the beat of her own drum. Well, we all pretty much should.
Absolutely. Yeah. May I just speak on one other thing with this?
Yes.
Important.
Absolutely.
And you were actually referring to this to a degree, I think, or maybe I'm intuitively like picking up as this potential of like what you might have faced in the past.
Yes.
Personally, I've dealt with this. I know it's a common thing in our Western civilization where it's the go kind of mentality.
Yes.
So to disrupt that, to use your word, which I love, to disrupt that, yeah, I think what stops most people is the thought process that, oh, if I slow down, then I'm going to get less done. But it's actually not true. We have to challenge that kind of thinking because, again, if life itself as a whole has a rhythm and we're thinking we can be beyond that, then we're kidding ourselves. But of course, if someone's hearing this, it's like, yeah, I get it. I could use rhythm in my life, but what's stopping me? A part of me feels like I can't or I shouldn't give myself that. It's questioning that belief. Because that usually unconscious belief that, again, if I slow down, then my work slows down or my productivity slows down or I get less done. It comes from a thinking that's only looking at the conditions of our current life.
Yes.
When going back to vision, right?
Yeah.
Dreaming into a life of what would you actually love? If anything was possible for you in your life, would you love to have a regular rhythm where maybe you only work 4 or 5 hours a day,
Exactly.
where you have 3-day weekends, where you have this kind of regular rhythm and you have phenomenal goals that you hit and you accomplish amazing things?
Yes.
Why can't it be both?
Exactly.
That's like what I honestly challenge my clients to. It's a principle that I've learned called the yes and principle.
Yes and. Woo-hoo,
yes, I give myself rest and I accomplish brilliantly.
Exactly.
Any version of that.
Love it. I love it. I remember, taking naps during the day. And I remember like over a decade and a half ago, one of my doctors said, you should consider taking day naps. I'm like, what? Are you crazy? Yeah, just take a 30-minute nap. It will change everything. I'm like, that's 30 minutes. I could get more done. And he's like, well, you can try it and just see how it works. And so I've got friends and stuff that are like, why do I get tired? I'm like, because you are tired. I just want to finish up and get the day done. I'm like, you don't even have to go to anyone's job. You're an entrepreneur. You should pencil in a nap, a 1-hour nap. Just lay down, put some music on or whatever you do, and just take a nap and wake up and watch how much more you'll get done. And I mean, I'm using the nap analogy.
Sure.
That's just one
Great,
thing.
though.
You don't have to, but there's so many things that we don't give ourselves the yes and the permission. We have all these should and could things that limit us. And really, again, go to the beat of your own drum. Your body and your soul knows what beat you should be dancing on. So just do it, right? That's so refreshing, because real transformation is not, it is sustainable, but only it's just not a dramatic thing that just happens. So you really took us through that so well. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
It makes so much room. And also it's a challenge that you can take on, Kevin, and make changes, but there's always, like, you just give us even more room for grace while we're, taking on those new habits and behaviors that will make all the difference in our lives. So let's dive into something I know our listeners will absolutely lean into: the 4 levels of consciousness. Walk us through them, and let's talk about how shifting from victimhood to empowerment actually happens. And, a lot of people don't see themselves as a victim, but I know you have some disruption for us on that.
Absolutely. Well, actually, a quick disruption on that, just that alone. We all play the victim at some point in our life.
Yes.
At the very least, when we were children.
Yes.
Because that's all we knew. Is that when we were 3 years old, as a toddler, it's like, yeah, I'm me, and that everything else is outside of me, and that has nothing to do with me. And when I get told my parents no, oh, that's terrible. So it's a very normal thing to go through developmentally as a human, to be in a victimhood mindset. We grow out of it naturally. However, it can be a choice in moments, especially when, for example, like you mentioned, entrepreneurs that you work with. If you have certain goals or dreams for your business and your work, and you do your best, you've put in a lot of effort, and it doesn't work out after months maybe, and you didn't hit your goals.
Yes.
It could be normal to feel disappointed and be in a little bit of a victimhood energy and mindset.
Yes.
So there's no blaming or, it's not wrong to be there. It's just understanding that being there for too long or prolonged period, then it's just obviously not life-giving or supportive for us in what we want in life anyway. So anyway, but the 4 levels of awareness, we were talking about it already. The stage 1, the lowest level of consciousness is victimhood, or the phrase. Each level of consciousness has a phrase where it fills in the blank of life is happening, and then blank, fill in the blank. So victimhood is where the thought is life is happening to me, where I'm at effect. I blame others or blame circumstance, blame situation for why I am where I am or what is happening in my life. It's not me, but it's them, or it's that fault. It's government. It's the weather. It's whatever it is outside of me.
Yeah.
Life is happening.
All this stuff has happened.
Exactly. And it's pure victimhood, and it is a very low state of consciousness. There's not a lot of power there. Yeah. Because naturally, when you're blaming others for things, you have zero interest in finding ways you can change yourself.
You're making changes.
Exactly. And no accountability. So it's life is happening to me. Now, the next stage of consciousness is called, or life is happening by me. And this is where we take responsibility. So the move to make between the victimhood to the by me phase, or the life is happening by me, where we've taken responsibility, is literally to take responsibility for 2 important things in life. It's for my own thoughts and my own actions.
Come on.
That's it. It is as simple as that. Those are the main things we can control. Everything else we have an influence and we can have a connection with, but the main things we can take responsibility for are thoughts and our actions. And so in that level of consciousness, we then realize, okay, I'm a creator. I can create change in my life. I can think differently. I could take action. I can create something I've never created before. I could do this.
Yeah.
And so there's a personal sense of power that comes into being there. And I think this is where most of humanity is, especially even more so in our personal development community. This is really, really strong, which is great. Like, again, it's a very much higher degree than victimhood.
Yeah.
But there still is levels of limitation there. And I'll describe that in a moment. But just to add a bit more, the by me phase, or life is happening by me, is that now I recognize that my thoughts and my actions have power. I can create change. Usually this is where we start to focus on material things. Like, I want that new car. I want the new job. I want the raise. I want to start that business. I want to grow the business. I want to write that book. I want to call in that love of my life. I want to change my health, whatever it is. Like, it's really great to start to get clear on what do I personally want in my own human life. And that's great. We want to be there and actually have some resonance with that experience in life. Now, there is a higher level. And the third level of consciousness, I find, is the sweet spot. Because the fourth, which we'll talk about, I find for most of us as humans, we can experience, but it's not really the ultimate goal of where we want to live our life from. But I'll describe that in a moment. So the third level of consciousness is life is happening through me. Life is happening through me. So the move to make from the by me, life is happening by me, to transform and up level our consciousness to through me, we let go of control. Because in the by me phase, I mentioned there's personal power there. We recognize, again, our thoughts and actions have power, but there's a sense of control to a degree of like, I'm going to make my life like this. And then we have, our goals, our visions, what we want, which again is great. And we want to keep that part of it. However, letting go of control in the through me phase is where we recognize that we're not all powerful. We're not God. God is God. Like, spirit is spirit. Like, the oneness of life is life, right? Like, we're an individual experience or expression of life itself. So we do have incredible power, and we're working with a higher power that has created all things. Science would call this the unified field theory, just to bring in a little science there. But there's this energy in life that is, it's giving us life in this very moment. Think of it this way. This is how I connect often, almost on a daily basis. I remind myself, I did nothing to deserve this beating heart in my chest right now. I couldn't do anything to deserve it. I was given that from the moment I was born. And so that heartbeat in my chest, the breath in my lungs, that's a gift from life itself. And so there's certain things I can control, again, in my human experience. And I also, it's the yes and principle again. Yes, I have power with my thoughts and actions, and I want to stay open to how something can unfold in my life, right? So there's, again, things we can influence. However, there's a lot we cannot control. And so to get to that through me phase, we let go of control. And then the final phase, just to bring it in for a landing, the completion of this.
I love it.
After the through me phase, there is a higher state of consciousness. It's called life is happening as me.
Woo! That's the one I don't know.
Life is happening as me. In essence, there's no separation between my individual self and life itself and the entirety of the universe. We're all one, basically. It's a state of oneness. It's a transcendental state of being. People find this in deep, deep meditation. More recently, it's been actually therapeutic, which is phenomenal to see, but psychedelics has been taken on in terms of therapeutic settings. But people from thousands of years ago had traditions of, like, ayahuasca is a very common one in Southern America that is used in very spiritual ceremonies. But those experiences, they tap you into that as me state where you have this actual experience of feeling and knowing I'm one with the one. And so I mentioned before, it's something that most of us humans are not aspiring as like a state to realize and sustain. And that's okay. If you want to be living your human life and experiencing different things throughout the human journey, you're welcome to, and that's your choice. So the through me state is really where we want to be in. But the as me state is like where we have experiences that influence and, in essence, stabilize our through me experience.
Quick question that just blew me. So I did have a guest on that introduced for the first time a lot more depth for me, and I've been doing the research. When you talked about the psychedelics and the fourth dimension, Have you experienced that? And is that something that a space you live in personally, or is it a space that you are in at times and then you come back to the third dimension?
In at times, I've experienced. I've tested and worked with plant medicine in like mainly psychedelic mushrooms. However, that is again experiences in states that I have had very infrequently to experience that embodied
As me.
state, exactly as me. However, once you're out of that, then it's like, all right, how do I bring that into my daily life? And the work is to sustain the life is happening through me experience.
Through me, yes.
But I've also had there was one or two moments in like deep meditation that I've had. I'll share one quick experience. One of these meditations I had the opportunity to go inside one of the Great Pyramid of Giza and inside the King's Chamber, which is widely accepted or believed to be a meditation space where the pharaohs would go to connect with gods, you could say, but I would call it higher power.
Right.
I got to be in there with a group. There's about 30 of us, 40 of us. I got to be in there. We did about a 30-minute meditation. At about like 25-minute mark, I had this experience of leaving my body. I felt like I shot up into the just cosmos and stars all around me. And I had this deep feeling of I was literally one with the one of everything.
Right.
And then as soon as I had this thought of like, oh my God, this is an amazing experience, boom, I dropped back down to my body.
Back down.
So as soon as I had the thought of an individual experience, I was back in the through me phase.
So you can, here's the thing, Kevin. There are a lot of images. At the time of us recording this episode, there's so much imagery right now of, the deportation process. I'm not going to go on and on into that too much, but we're watching things on our screen, social media, wherever on the news, that is just
right.
For someone who I believe I live more in the third dimension, I'm having moments of where my body gets weak. Like even talking about it right now, I feel, and it's almost like I could feel the pain and the sorrow of the different things and the people, even the people who are actually there's some of them I can feel their pain of being the one who's executing it, and all the fight that they're sort of the wall they've put up to say, this is just my job. I don't have to like it. I just have to do it. So it's on both sides, and just the pain of us as one.
As a collective. Right.
Yeah. And it's heavy. And so I'm having to do a lot more spiritual work to stay in that zone of not to shut it out. How would you say that's truly affecting? Because there's some people who think it's bad, it's sad that it's happening, or it's not happening to me, it's not going to come to my door because I'm Right. What do you say to us? Especially those who are either we are somewhere in the third dimension of things, or we're back and forth between third and second. How do we deal with that? Because we can really experience some things, and I guess for me, I just feel like it's just happening to all of us. I don't know if I'm getting into first base or second base when I do that. Talk to us about it.
I hear you though. No, I get it. It really is happening to us all collectively, because I believe at a deep, deep level, we really are all connected. Yeah. So what happens to one is really happening to all of us at a subconscious level. How we deal with that though, I want to quote Dr. Martin Luther King, because he has this phenomenal quote that I hear Mary, my mentor, talk about often when it comes to the world issues, what's going on presently, that in many ways are not right at all. And we can claim it as such or label it as such. Dr. Martin Luther King had this great quote where he said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And so I bring that in as a guiding light, you could say, because I think a part of the journey is honoring and acknowledging the pain, whether it's our own individual experience or just observing, seeing it collectively, that there's work that we can do, because we, as spiritual beings having this human experience, as we honor those experiences that we are having, that pain, that challenge, we allow ourselves the permission and space to then transmute it, not for ourselves, but also for the whole. And still witnessing, acknowledging, not shying away, like you said, like just shutting it off, because that just shoves it deeper, it suppresses it.
Yes.
But giving it space. And it is a journey, obviously, that we're on. And like I said, like that quote, it just is a guiding light for me, because in times like I've had my own doubts of like, what is going on in the world? Like, is there actually greater light coming into this world? Like, is this world evolving?
It feels like it's getting darker if you're not spiritually aware of that. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why it's like taking the long view. It's actually another just teaching to bring in. It's actually the Buddhists who say that term, take the long view.
Take the long view.
The long view.
That's my partner and I, we had this conversation, processing our feelings and what we're experiencing along the journey. And one of the things he said was, this all makes sense. This is more light coming in.
Right.
The light is coming in, so it's exposing the darkness. So that's why it looks dark.
Totally. I agree.
So it's going to look, and it's funny, you and Chris were talking about, make it make sense. We were talking about, the theory of evolution and the theory, and, when things explode,
yes,
it doesn't go back into order, right? It usually just creates a big mess. And so the long brain will have you see, though, well, we're not talking about evolution, that when that light expels darkness and it has to scatter. And I guess that's my consolation to the long, is the long, in the long haul, this is sort of this is where we get awakened. This is where light flashes on.
Absolutely. I would like to add one other point too that's very important.
Yeah.
That gives the emotions we feel space to be expressed, not just to our loved ones or to ourselves, to honor those emotions.
Yeah.
I also believe that those emotions are meant to be acted on if we feel guided to do so.
Ooh.
Because when you act, if there's a strong sense of discontent, and then we were just talking about it earlier in this podcast about like your personal life and vision and what you would love. It starts with discontent. If you have a discontent about what's going on in the world and you feel called to do something, make a difference, whatever that is. Yes. Whether it's as simple as calling your mayor and to talking to him or her about the issues, sharing your viewpoint, or going to a peaceful rally to protest, right? Or to check on a neighbor, seeing how they're doing. Like, I mean, I'm just giving some examples.
Right.
When you ask the question, what can I do?
Yes.
There's something that shifts, and then those emotions then have a place to go.
Yes.
And so you can channel it to even greater light, to bring back your example.
Yes. And that's back to what you said earlier about life guiding you.
Yes.
To your soul's purpose.
Exactly.
That's it.
Right.
And it's going to be to your rhythm.
100%.
And your soul will never misguide you into destruction.
That's exactly it.
That's just so you know, okay? And like I tell individuals along my journey of life, I have never been called to I haven't been. I wouldn't say I've never been. I haven't been called or felt propelled to be in a protest. But I'm always empowering people who do. To do so peaceably, because that is what their soul is calling to. Totally. Mine is to get people, what I get called to do is to get people together, take out, release and replace, release and replace. And I can do that on the podcast. I can do it on a live. I can do it in a boardroom. I can do it in a classroom. I can do it with one person, whether we're, just meeting up in Walmart. Is to listen and hear and acknowledge and then put something back in with the voice that I'm given. And then sometimes it's in my writing and sometimes it's in my writing to a senator, to a mayor, to or just going over there and calling people to action, so a group of people can feel like you just called the listeners to action, like to calling people to action right now, saying, hey, what is it that your soul is guiding you to, number one, allow yourself to release, but also create space to create the change that you want to be in this world, be the change you want to be in the world. So I love that. So profound. So profound. So I have a question for you, going back to where we were in the fourth dimensions. Can you share a personal moment, maybe when you were stuck in one of those lower levels, and what helped you elevate higher in those higher states that you needed to be in, or you desired to be in?
One of my favorite relationships in my life is with my wife. Her name is Vivienne. We've been married together for 3 years. It'll be 3 years in September this year. Together for 7. When we first moved in together 4 years ago, just a bit before we got married, I had a significant challenge of accepting her work schedule. She's a night shift nurse. She loves it. She's a night owl, and she's been since she was a kid. And it's her dream to be a nurse. She absolutely loves her work. She works with kids too. She's a pediatric nurse.
Oh, nice.
She's an angel. I honestly believe she's an angel.
I believe they are definitely angels.
Absolutely.
Because my heart would break 100 times taking care of a sick child. I can't even hear a child is sick.
Yeah, same, totally. But so when we started moving in together, the rhythm of talking about rhythm, our schedules were so off track. You know, previously, since we were living apart, I saw her like once or twice a week. It was phenomenal. We would have date nights. Like, we would go do things. Like, sometimes I would sleep over her place. She would sleep over mine. But like, generally, we had a good rhythm. When we moved in together, I was expecting more time together. However, in some ways, we got less, because she had 3, if not 4 shifts a week, 12 hours, and she goes to work at 7 p.m. She comes home, her work shift ends at 7 a.m. And so I maybe get a half an hour with her on the days that she works.
Oh my gosh.
And I felt like I was missing her a lot. I felt like there was a disconnection that we had in our relationship because I wasn't used to that kind of rhythm.
Yeah.
And I was feeling hurt because I told her many times that a part of me wanted her to maybe have shifted to day shift.
Right.
But that was me trying to control. But that was also me being in victimhood and blaming it's your fault, or it's your schedule, it's not mine, right?
Exactly. And how about you got a different schedule?
Right. Yeah. So it was some months, I'll say. It wasn't like one conversation that shifted it, but overall, because we had many conversations about it, the topic came up like usually once a month, especially in the first like 6 to 8 months of us living together. Yeah. But the shifts that I mentioned before is really what I did. First and foremost, to move from victimhood, from that blaming of like, oh, it's you, I took responsibility. Is how am I thinking about this? Yeah. How am I acting? And like, in essence, like especially in those early months when she had work and we would have dinner together, because she was like, her dinner was technically her breakfast, right? I could have that time with her, but sometimes it didn't line up with my schedule. Right. And so I was thinking like, oh, she should change, not me. But I took responsibility. Some of the actions, one of those days was like, you know what? I'm going to change my schedule to connect with her because it's a priority for me. Right. Some of that also was changing my thought of, you know, she loves what she does. Right. She doesn't want to be in day shift. She's expressed that. Part of that is collaborating with her to understand that she doesn't want to compromise that or sacrifice that. Right. And so literally to think in that and just understand my wife, and that I want to lean in to help her live a life that she loves too. Right. So I was thinking differently about it. But then the through me phase of as well was definitely important too, because I just had to trust and learn to let go of control, because this was absolutely out of my control. Yeah. I could say all I wanted to say, but I married an amazing, strong, independent woman, and she's going to make her own decisions. And so she was not changing her schedule in her way. And so I honestly allowed it to just let go of control, stayed open. And interestingly enough, it's been now, again, about 4 years we've lived together. I actually really enjoy having the time that she has when she goes to work, because it's my alone time when she's out at work. You know, so there's at least 3 nights a week where I'm on my own, I hang out with friends, I'll do my own thing, like, oh, go exercise or go work out. Like, I get my own alone time, which, you know, now looking back, I'm actually glad it did not change. Wow. So it's so interesting of the flip, but it took some time. But part of that process was really the steps that we were talking about. Right. So life was presenting you both
as you become one in the home, a rhythm that
Yes.
was on, I mean, and let's face it, most of us are raised in a home where both our parents come home in the evening, right?
Mm,
And they're there. So that's part of like, it's programmed that's
totally.
how it works. Like, that's how you have a happy marriage. This is how you have a family, right? So now we have to disrupt that no, whatever that rhythm is for us is what becomes a happy home and a happy family, because I'm happy from within and I'm at peace and I'm not trying to control all the outcomes. And it's very simple, but how many people, whether it's a night shift and a day shift change, have those issues? It's sometimes it's about who wants to watch a girly chick flick versus an action movie.
Right.
I always tell people, like, if my partner love action movies, I will say, you know what, I don't really care for, well, I do love action movies, is weird enough. I got all that going on. But I do love action movies, and I don't like not sci-fi, like too creepy zombie movies.
Sure.
Right? But like some things with vile. I did not, but I had to open my mind, because then I want to share movies with him that he enjoys, and I want him to share movies with me, and just come over to the dark side, okay? So it was like, you know, let's do this. We watch both in one night. We'll watch 2 movies on a Saturday night.
Nice. Double feature.
Right, one of each. Whoever pick your movie, and it doesn't matter what it is. I'm watching a whole movie, no falling asleep. If you fall asleep, then you cheat. We got to watch it again. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. But I never became the most happy about Dracula movie with people just eating people and beating people up. But I'm okay. And I get into the storyline and the psychology of why they thought it was important to make a movie like that. I was like, oh God, now she's turned it into
Sure.
an entire scientific. But that's what you get. You want to be with me, right? But it worked. And so I enjoy, and funny, the chick flicks, he started like in the chick flicks more.
Yes. I love it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So just releasing and just saying, okay, let's go. And I tell folks all the time, like, the more you go with the flow of life, it just makes it so much easier. And if something does not align with your spirit, then you take a stance and say, you know, this really doesn't work for me. But if you're going to be in a relationship with people, just let it go. Let it go. Try it. I say, my thing is like, what's the worst thing could happen? You don't like it, and you guys have to go back to the drawing board.
Totally. At least you experimented.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. That was just so great example that we can apply everywhere. Now, Kevin, it's time for Flip the Script. Can't believe all this time went by already. I want to know, what's one moment in your life when you had to completely shift your mind? I mean, besides the one you just did, a moment that changed everything.
Oh man, we didn't even get into this, but this is my origin story, really, of how I do why I'm doing the work I do today. In 2013, I was in 3 years to get my doctorate in pharmacy.
Ooh.
That was my path. I was a traditionally trained scientist. I do have my bachelor's of science now in pharmaceutical and healthcare studies. However, that next year, so 3 years in, is when I started to discover personal development, started reading books, really started to awaken my mind to possibilities in my life.
Yeah.
And then throughout that next time of year, I started working at a community pharmacy as an intern, started to see the industry, and I completely fell out of touch with what my purpose was, because I didn't feel like I was helping people in that pharmacy, like truly helping people change their life.
Yeah.
So it was a massive shift, because for about 4 years, that was a committed path for me. And I was already thinking like, all right, yep, I'm going to be a pharmacist. I'm going to have the doctorate, all this. And I chose that path for good reason, because I love science. I love math. I still do. However, I had a core belief and heart for wanting to help people. And that was completely lost when I started to work in the industry.
There's no transformation. You're a transformation coach. Yeah.
Totally. And so it was a very difficult time in my life. It was actually one of the few times I felt like I was actually in a depression. But there was a light. I felt like it was at the end of the tunnel, because I knew I did not want to stay. But it was just about making that bold and difficult decision to change. And I didn't even know what career path would be next. But the mindset shift for me was mainly thinking not just in the shorter term, like the next 5 or 10 years of life, which many people would say that's long term, but I was thinking, no, in 5, 10 years, I still feel like I would hate my career, hate my life. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So I changed my mindset, and it was helpful to have some support from personal development books. I don't even remember which one. Maybe it was even a speaker. I was listening to Les Brown around that time, as well as Bob Proctor.
Yes.
One of those two, or one of the books, had said something like this: think to the end of your life. At the end of your life, if you're on your deathbed and you look back at this moment in time in your life right now, what decision would you be most proud that you've made?
Come on.
And that changed my life entirely. And I saw it differently completely. And I knew it was going to be difficult. I had no idea what the path was in front of me, but I made the decision to leave. Exactly. I knew that was the discontent. It's like, I'm done with this. And what do you know? 2 days later, after I graduated with my 4-year degree, I found Mary Morrissey, who's now been my mentor for 11 years. I found her on a webinar. And so it really speaks to the truth of the statement, which you may have heard, that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So that was one of the biggest moments in my life so far.
Oh, I love it. I love the shift. I know someone's going to be encouraged with that. Just think 5 years and think to the end of your life. I have this thing I joke about. I'm like, okay, so who are you and what are you thinking about when you lay your head back in the bed? Or if you can't go to bed, because a lot of us are like, yeah, I fall asleep on the couch, Alisa. Well, everybody goes to the bathroom. That's usually the quiet time that we get with ourselves. How satisfied are you with the life you're living? You like it? Or do you wish several things could change? Then who has the power to change it? You.
Exactly. Oh, that's so good. Thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you for sharing that. Man, somebody's going to be lifted. You just signed permission slips for several people. I know it by listening to you talk about that, because one of the hardest things is to, let's face it, pharmacists at the beginning of their career, gross at least 100 plus K, even 11 years ago. So that's to walk into coaching where, you had no idea about scaling and all that stuff. That would be what walking in your purpose is. You just trust that every step you put one in front of the other, because a lot of times you never get the full lay of the land. And you know what? I thank God he doesn't show us that. Or,
I agree.
Thank God. I thank the universe. I thank him. I thank it. I thank everything that I didn't get to see all the things. Because I'm like, okay, we would have turned down. We would have turned down a long time. You know what they say? Turn down for what? For all that stuff. Because I knew that was going to like, I'm not doing purpose. Like, it's easier over here. But it's not, because your soul is crushed doing things that does not align with what and why you're on this earth. So Kevin, guess what? It is our time for Mindset Advice to go. But before that, I got to ask you, what is success for you? How do you define it?
I love this question. Interestingly enough, I will refer to Bob Proctor's mentor for a definition. I really believe this is the end all be all of what really success is, deep down. And I've adopted it as my definition of success, but it's from Earl Nightingale is his name. Earl Nightingale said, and this is in the 60s, Bob Proctor taught it for decades. He said he'd never changed a word. I still have not changed a word after years of teaching it myself. Earl says, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Yes, you knew it. You knew it. But I love that quote. Just to break it down for a second, is that it's not the attainment. It's not the attainment that is actually success, because that is fleeting. When we get to the end of our life, everything goes back in the box. The only thing that we get to take, the only thing we actually get to take with us is who we've become in the process of living. So it's how we live our life, not what we gain. Yes. And so that's why I believe that definition of success is so powerful and potent, because it's the progress. To repeat it again, success is the progressive realization of that worthy ideal. So to have something to work toward and that you haven't achieved yet, that's a beauty. That's a gift from life. And so, yes, to achieve those things, beautiful. And that will absolutely happen. You can call that success too. But beyond that, I've even had a moment in my business where I hit certain targets, like my first $100,000 year, first 40 clients in a year. And I had this feeling of oh, is that it? because
Exactly.
I didn't start dreaming of the next, of like, what's next? Like,
And
what
then
would I
you're
love
like,
more?
if I knew I could do 100,000 this simply, I could have just gone for 1 million.
Exactly. Yeah. But again, it's the progress
It's
that
a
you're really looking
worthy
for.
ideal because you keep setting it up. Now you never
Yes.
ever get there. That's the
Exactly.
fun part. Yep.
Yes.
I love it. So this is when I step away from the camera and the microphone, and it's just you and our listeners and viewers, giving them a life-changing idea on a mindset bite that you think, if it was your last message to the world, what would you say?
We've talked about this before in this podcast already, but I'll reiterate. I think the most important thing that I can convey in this moment as a mindset bite is that life is for you, that life is with you, life is seeking to support you. That happens through our own experience in human nature as what we long for, what we're discontent about. There's signals from our soul of where we want greater life. And so as you lean into that, you just honor that part of you that is longing for more, even if you have your life is really, really good. Like I had a really, really good in that pharmacy career path, but I felt that calling for more. It didn't make a whole lot of sense, but honoring that has brought me on one of the most amazing journeys I can ever imagine. And so I honestly believe that if you follow that instinct, that calling, that impulse of life from within you, that you're going to be brought towards amazing, amazing things in your life too.
Yay, that's so powerful. Like you lit us up all the way through, all the way through. Phenomenal. There's no doubt we have been graced with greatness, and not as something to just brag about, something to just bathe in, that you have such a light in you. Definitely compared, but I feel like we're all just like our thumbprint, so unique, but we get it. You see why they compare him to Bob Proctor, because he brings such a gift of transformation to the world, and we appreciate you. Now, Kevin, everybody's going to want to know how to connect with you. Just tell us what's your favorite way for us to connect, because we're going to have it all in the description.
Totally. Well, the main way of connecting, I find, is my podcast with my brother. It has my most up-to-date sharing of what's going on in my work. And I will say currently at this time, I'm actually not accepting any new clients, which is a very honored and privileged place to be in. I'm really thrilled about that, to say that. And I do share regular updates. So just tuning into the podcast, which we post every single week, generally, like we take some time off for like a holiday here or there, but we have once a week episodes with my brother, Chris. And so, yeah, finding us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. But yeah, we're Science and Spirituality. You can find us there. I do have a website, kevincarton.com. But again, Science and Spirituality is where we have the most updates.
Yes, and they hash it out. It is fun listening to these two brothers, so wise. They literally bring science, spirituality, and a whole bunch of mindset disruption, let me tell you. They will take you for a run and then give you the goods to make sure that you get something to go. You get more than just mindset bites. You get disruption. They're really disruptive. Don't let them fool you. I got the name, but they're disrupting, because if you can make me laugh and challenge me at the same time, you're my type of people. So you'll also see the link to the podcast, and you'll also see them as one of the podcasts we love on our website as well. So for anyone, you know what, Kevin, listen, you are truly a vessel of wisdom and compassion. So first of all, thank you for that. Welcome. And for everyone listening, go binge Science and Spirituality. You have to. Trust me, we'll be laughing and learning together and getting transformed. And also, again, kevincarton.com to take the next step in your own purpose and journey. Kevin, thank you so much for showing up in such a depth and clarity and authenticity as well. And you really give us a lot. And I know you will be back, and fingers crossed, we can get Chris over here too. And we can have a really fun episode that just brings more transformation from your voice.
That'd be awesome. You're welcome. And thank you so much once again for having me. This has been an honor.
Thank you so much. If this episode is something inside of you, don't let the fire go out. Share it, re-listen to it, take on bold steps this week. And remember, it's always in those simple habits. Make the change, be the change. And remember, purpose isn't something you find. It is something you remember. It's already in you. I love to remind people. We always say, I got to find my purpose. I'm looking. It didn't get lost. You are your purpose. So just tap in and go to the beat of your own drum. I'm Dr. Alisa, and my co-host today, Kevin Zane. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.